of our waterfront in our downtown area. And he did it in conjunction with our once long-term serving mayor, Jim Noggle, who served 6 terms, 24 years. Pretty unheard of. Okay? Now Wayne had quite the impressive resume. He's just not some guy that had a lot of money. Okay? He was the only independent man to start 3 Fortune 500 companies from the bottom up. They were Waste Management, still one of the most profitable companies in the world today. AutoNation, the largest conglomerate of car dealerships in the world today, over 483. And lastly, Blockbuster Video. Now we know that didn't go so well in the end, but we'll talk about that. He's also the only independent gentleman to own 3 professional sporting teams at the same time. He owned the Dolphins, the Marlins, and the Panthers all at the same time. So not the typical resume and not the typical guy. You'll hear me talk about he and his family a lot today because they did a lot for us here and they have a lot of properties. But without further ado, let's start right here on our right with this white home with the black and white striped awnings. This was the home of Mike Mulrooney. And in the late 80s, early 90s, Mike Mulrooney was the largest used car dealer here in South Florida. He was making a killing. And then in 1995, William Isaiah came to Mike and said, Mike, I know you're a big shot here in the car biz. How would you like to go right off the charts? I'm forming the largest conglomerate of car dealers. I want you to come on board as my CEO and chairman of AutoNation. Mike jumped at the opportunity. He stayed with Wayne until 2015 when he retired. He sits right in back there underneath that little white tarp now and counts all his cash. He did very, very well for himself. All right, folks, hey, if you look to your right, you notice that large banyan tree there? It's the oldest one in South Florida, 405 years old. The branches grow down to the ground and become roots. So then you can walk around the tree and through the tree, the trunk of the tree. Stronger than an oak. Now they can get huge because it's all about the branches growing down. The largest one is in Calcutta, India. It covers 4.5 acres of land. Over here on the left, folks, this white home with the beige trim, it's got the gazebo with the spiral columns and the brown roof out there. That was the home of Roger Wittenberg. Now Roger was the owner and founder of Ladies of America Fitness Centers, not to be confused with LA Fitness Centers here in the U.S. LA Fitness Centers, huge here in the U.S., 550 locations. Ladies of America, 1,300 locations, 9 countries. Makes LA Fitness look tiny. Huge, huge company. We got a couple sailboats up in front of us here. They're slowing us up a little. As we come forward here on the other side of the canal, this apricot colored home on the corner. Look for some iguanas, kids, on the seawall here. They seem to love this property. You'll often see iguanas out on the wall on the lawn here. It's coming right up on your right. Yep, I see a couple of iguanas on the wall right now. 3 or 4 of them, actually. Now this guy here in his home, he made his fortune one slice at a time. What do I mean by one slice at a time? This is the home of Jim Dinkins, the CEO and co-founder of the Honey Baked Ham Company. Yeah, there's the iguanas right there on our right. Now it might seem crazy to think that this guy can make all this money off a sliced ham. It's really not. What's crazy is, he convinced you and I that a ham is worth 150 bucks. The guy's a genius. Okay, as we come forward, you'll notice the red and green markers here on the channel on our left. This is telling our captain up top where she can and cannot go. These are our channel markers. If she was to take a left right here, she would ground the boat on our local sandbar. It was crowded earlier, it's ending up today. You still have a floating bar and a restaurant that's left out there. Tomorrow when it's nice out, there'll be 200 to 300 boats out here partying. There'll be 2 floating bars and 2 floating restaurants. I tell everybody, come out here, rent a boat, or come out on your own, and sit just outside the triangle here in the sandbar and watch every bad decision you ever made in your life happen right before your eyes here this weekend. This is the spot to come watch. Right on your right, folks, you'll see that gray home with the blue awnings we're going by. I like to call that the home of the Joneses. Because back in the day, remember, everybody wanted to be like the Joneses, you wanted to compete with the Joneses. Well, that home there was the biggest home from the mid-40s to the 60s. Been surpassed many times now. But it was that family's money that bought all the other money here. Because money follows money. That there was the home of the Vanderbilts. Now, it eventually ended up in Gloria Vanderbilt's hands. Gloria, when she passed away, left it to her son, Mr. CNN himself, Anderson Cooper. Anderson spent 0 time there. He had it for 1 year. He turned around and sold the property. Now, as I was saying, if we took a left and ground their boat in the sandbar, well, we could go up here and around the sandbar, and if we did, in 3 hours, we'd be in Bayside Marketplace, Miami. 3 hours after that, we'd be in Key West. 3 hours after that, we'd be in Cuba. So 2 minutes after that, we'd be in jail. So instead, straight up
Let's
the
go to
river
jail.
to downtown Fort Lauderdale. And you can see our skyline there. It's a fairly new skyline. We had none 5 years ago, but it's growing.
Let's go to jail.
And you won't recognize it in another 5. The difference with our skyline from Chicago and New York is that's all residential accommodations. There's no corporate offices in those buildings. Oh, quick, over on the right, folks, crocodile. See him on the stone wall? See the crocodile right there? Yeah, right there on the stone wall. Orange tile roof. I know it's not a real crocodile. Sit down. Come on. Yeah, but he's a very special crocodile. Remember the polo shirt, Lacoste? That was Rene Lacoste's home. Now, Rene's been gone a long time, but when he passed away, he did something very cool. He had the crocodile deeded to the property. So it stays, no matter who buys the property, the crocodile stays. What a lot of people don't know is he put that crocodile in the shirts because he was a predacious tennis player, and that was his nickname with all his friends. They called him the Crocodile. That's how he ended up putting it on the shirts. Now up to our left, we're passing this beautiful mansion with the tricolored stonework. That's the home of Bruce Paddock. Bruce owned Paddock Pharmaceuticals in Minnesota. He sold it for $590 million. He moved down here and built that home. Now all that stonework was done by one
Jimmy
stonemason
Neutron's
by
house.
hand. 3 years into it, Bruce came to him and said, "Looky, you've been at this for 3 years. I want to move into my home." The guy said, "I got news for you. It's going to be another 3 years." He said, "I don't have 3 years. Finish it like your regular home, the second half, and I'll be in here in 2. The guy said, "I still think it'll take me 3 years." Bruce said, "No, I know you can do it too. You just need a little push." The guy said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm going to watch you every single day until you get it done in 2 years." He said, "How are you going to do that?" Bruce said, "I just bought the home next door for $17.5 million, and I'm going to sit on the lawn and watch you every day until you finish." And he did. And the guy finished it in 2 years. Bruce turned around and sold that home next door and made a $3.5 million profit. Right here on the right, folks, this apricot-colored home we're going past. This was the home of Herb Kohl. And Herb was a senator in Wisconsin. He also owned the Milwaukee Bucks for a while. But what you might notably know him for mostly is that's Kohl's with a K. He was the founder and owner of the largest chain of department stores in the world today, Kohl's Department Stores. Now on our right here, you'll see this yellow Venetian-styled home with the green windows. This was a gift from Wayne Huizenga to his sister, Pamela. Excuse me. They sold it to the Fishers. The next home, Wayne gifted this to his daughter, Bonnie, and her husband, Whit Hudson, Bonnie and Whit Hudson. Whit was in the trash business also, like Wayne. Wayne was with Waste Management. He eventually brought Whit into Waste Management with him. Whit used to keep a big yacht right on the dock there. The name of it was Business Stinks. Pretty good for a trash guy. Now right over the channel, we're not done yet. Wayne gifted this home to Stephen Hudson, his nephew, Bonnie and Whit's son. Now Stephen was a smart young guy, about 30 years old, doing very well on his own. He was set up just right. Okay, he came to Uncle Wayne one day and said, "Uncle Wayne, everybody's watching these VHS tapes. I think we should get in on this." So they did. They formed Blockbuster Video, Fortune 500 company number 3. Now we know Blockbuster didn't go so well in the end. Not true for the Huizengas. Stephen came to Uncle Wayne again one day and said, "Uncle Wayne, everybody's listening to satellite radio. They're listening to these CDs. We might want to get rid of this VHS business, Blockbuster." So they put together a deal with Viacom, and they sold Blockbuster to Viacom for $8.4 billion. What happened 10 months later? Hello, Netflix, so long Blockbuster. Maybe a little inside info there, I don't know. What I do know is I'm pretty sure that CEO for Viacom is no longer there. Right on the right, folks, that's Spirit Airlines new airline terminal. How do you like it? Crazy looking, right? Yeah, it looks like it could be. That crazy looking home there is done by a company called Strange Architects. Appropriately so. Now, I couldn't find out too much about the home, but I did find out the owner is a social media influencer. Does anybody know what that is? I don't. If you do, let me know afterwards, because I'm trying to find out, because whatever it is, it's a $40 million home. As we come forward here, folks, I want you to look over to your left, and you're going to see this 7-home palatial estate coming up just after the brick home here. This estate here was the home of Wayne Huizenga himself, and it's quite the piece of property to look at. The first apricot-colored home coming up here on the left, this was the mother-in-law's house.
That's not like a Willie house.
How do I know that?
Huh? Willie
It's the
house
house farthest from the main house, of course.
Think about the Willie house.
The second little green cottage there, that was the original dog house for a 90-pound German Shepherd. The next
German
five
Shepherd
cars in the
for-
home were all connected
that's a
to
house
breeze
for a
line.
dog.
There's missing nothing here in this home. They've
Mommy,
got it all
mommy,
covered.
that a German
Now,
Shepherd
notice the
for.
statue of the Dolphins out there. Remember, Wayne did own the Miami Dolphins. The centerpiece of his property and his pride and joy was his bell tower here. The bells up top played 100 of his favorite songs. On the second floor, there's a hot tub. On the bottom floor, that's an eating area with a little lazy river that goes around the property. Notice the statue of the Dolphins. Remember, Wayne owned the Miami Dolphins. Now, Wayne passed away in 2018, but before he did something very cool. He asked his family, he said, look it, when I pass away, you can stay in this home as long as you like.
That's a big.
But the
That's a
day
big
you
pool.
sell it, I want every penny to go to 8 of my favorite South Florida charities. The day he passed away, the family had already cut a deal with Chuck West Pet Supermarkets and Petco. They sold it to him for $18 million, which is a bargain on that home. And the next day, they wrote checks for $18 million to 8 of Wayne's favorite charities. Pretty nice. Now, right in front of us, folks, we're coming up to one more high-city property. This is the Harry Potter mansion.
Oh, Harry Potter
Look at it, kids. It looks like right out of Harry Potter, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
We knew nothing about Harry Potter. He could care less.
it does.
But Whit and Johnny's daughter back there, Holly, she was a Harry Potter freak. And she announced that she was getting married. So Wayne sent his guys up to Universal Studios, got in touch with those architects, brought them down here, and had him build
Where's
that
Percy
home for him.
Jackson?
He then gifted it to Holly as a $22.5 million starter home for her.
For real, has a hologram. Imagine.
Remember what
Look
your
at
uncle gave you on your wedding day?
What
Rice cooker, bottle of Crown Royal, maybe, right?
Oh yeah.
She did pretty good. This home on the right, folks, here, this resort-style home, for about a year and a half, this was the home of the Bell family, as in Taco Bell.
Dude, look
Okay?
Taco
Now, they
Bell.
only stayed a year and 3/4 and they moved because Mrs. Bell said she couldn't take the heat here in South Florida. So they packed up and they moved to Arizona. I don't know, I guess it's a dry heat, I don't get that. On the right here, this sandy colored home, this was once the home of Michael Egan, the founder and owner of Alamo
good
Rental Car.
backyard.
He and Wayne were best of buddies. On the left here, this seafoam and mid-colored home getting the pool redone. If it was white, you might recognize it because it was in a famous movie. Cape Fear, Nick Nolte, Robert De Niro, Jessica Lange. Now, why would they film a movie about a river in North Carolina just up the road, here in a river in Florida? And they did it at great expense. They tore out all the palm trees, they put in pine trees, to make it look like South or North Carolina. The reason they did that was because at the time, the star of the movie, Nick Nolte, was doing two of his favorite things. He was drinking and driving and was wearing an ankle bracelet, and he couldn't leave South Florida. So they bought the movie to Nick.
What's there? Barcelona. I don't know.
Now on our right side here, folks, coming
Barcelona.
up, this home, this big
That's a
home on the
house.
right, it's
That's a
got the
house.
American flag. That got blown down this morning during a little thunderstorm.
I don't know.
Here. That
They
home
probably
there
have
was
secret
the
door.
largest
Mike
kitchen
Tyson.
on the waterway here.
Bruh.
A 2,200 square foot kitchen. Yeah, I love to cook, but that just wouldn't work for me. I have a little 3x8 galley kitchen in my house, and I lose my keys there 3 times a day. I never be able to have 2,200 square feet.
22,200 acres.
This glass
for a
home is
kitchen.
for sale. Take a quick look to the back of it. You'll see all those trees. The home goes around all the trees, all kinds of weird shapes. That's because environmentalists wouldn't let them cut down the trees, so they built the home around all the trees.
Why do you pick this one out of every single
The
home?
next home with the brown Adirondack chairs on the left, that's the home of Anthony Bruno. Anthony owns one of the most
Somebody
famous
just put
and
that
longest
for
running
sale.
Italian restaurants here in South Florida. Anthony's Runaway 84. He's also the owner of Anthony's Cold Fire Wings and Pizza and Nathan's Burgers with Burger Buns.
Why would you leave house?
Now, as we come
There's
forward
no
here,
point.
folks,
And
on the
that's
right, tucked back in on the corner, you're going to see this little beige building with the arched windows. Back in the early 1900s, this was the home of Sheriff Clark. And he entertained people there like Franklin D. Roosevelt, Winston
even look
Churchill.
at it 'cause
After a
how,
few
like,
hands that have passed through after that, it became the John T. Powers School of Modeling. And some famous models attended that you might be familiar with.
They got a
One,
big
Kristen Franklin.
That's a whole tiny
On
house.
the white building next door here, that was the dorm. And every afternoon,
I
when
might
we came
jump
to our
over, bro.
afternoon cruise, the girls
You know
would be
how much
done
I love
on
soccer.
classes, and they'd be out here on their bikinis sunning themselves. And depending who the captain was up top, we would
Bro, I might
conveniently
just-
break down
I
for
might buy the
5
whole
or 10
city.
minutes every afternoon right here.
No, that's
On
a
your left,
condo.
folks,
If you were buying
two
all
Adirondack chairs. There he is in the window. Give a wave right there. He's waving to us. Give a wave. Yeah. That's one great guy right there.
Oh, there he is.
Our next long-term
He's in there.
mayor I told you about.
He's in there.
Served 24 years. He was first elected at 38 years old. He did a lot with Wayne Huizenga to transform
Bellfield's
our
famous for
downtown
that.
area. Good guy. He waves to us every night. Now, as we move forward here, you're going to notice a restaurant on the right side.
Oh, restaurant?
White House Restaurant, very good restaurant. It is located in the Riverside Hotel. The Riverside Hotel is the oldest hotel on the waterway here. Okay? The front part here was established in 1936. The back part was added in the 80s. In 1936, when they did the ribbon cutting here, a very famous guy you're all familiar with
That's a
did that
baby
ribbon
pool.
cutting. He was an actor, and then our president, Ronald Reagan.
Bro.
Give away for these folks. Now, hey folks, by the way, that's very important. If you see these people waving to you, I gotta ask you, please wave back to them. It's very important. Most of these people are retired, and that's the only exercise they get. You want to wave and wave a lot, okay? All right, as we come forward here, folks, on the right, you'll see this white home with the red and white railing. It's the oldest home on the waterway here. It's the Stranahan House, now known as the Stranahan Museum. It was built in 1901, and it was the home for Frank and Ivy Stranahan. They were some of the first movers and shakers here in Fort Lauderdale. The Stranahans, the Stromatis, the Kings, those were the families that became the politicians, the lawyers, and the doctors. Frank ran a trading post with the Seminole Indians out of there. Ivy taught them English, and later became the post office. Then their home. On the right, this is
Smoker Family
7,
Park.
great little happy hour spot, and that's the Icon Building. 47 stories tall, and every spot in there is
How does he know all this stuff with Donald Trump?
Now we're creeping forward. As we do, look on either side of you. You'll see the red sidewalks there. That's our river walk. And the funds for the river walk, once again, were donated to us by the Huizenga family. Now, if you're looking at 20 yards on the other side of the building, you'd be on Los Olos Boulevard, what we like to call our little Rodeo Drive. There's all high-end restaurants on the other side here.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little chocolate shops, ice cream shops,
That's a park.
quirky designer
That's a park.
shops. Okay, great place to go people watching. Right there, Los Olos Boulevard. Now, if we come around the corner here, we're going to be coming to the 3rd Avenue Bridge. Okay, and it's an on-demand bridge. What that means is our captain's up top. She's calling ahead and telling them that we're coming, and they're opening this bridge on demand for us. If you see the little mural on the right side of the bridge, that's depicting the Seminoles that used to come down here in their dugouts and trade with Frank Stranahan there in the Stranahan House. That big gray thing you see in the front of the canoe there, the dugout, they used big rocks and boulders for ballast when they would come to the cruising center.
Did you see that flash?
Themselves. That's what that represents.
Oh, yeah, last time.
Now, if you're a
I got
local,
sticking
you
his
might
head out the
remember 3
window.
weeks ago, there was a crane that fell from 30 stories up and it landed on a bridge. This is where it happened, right here.
No. Wait, what happened?
Now, as we go through the bridge here, I just showed you the oldest hotel on the water. I now want to show you an impressive hotel. This is the largest hotel in Fort Lauderdale. Last night, almost 1,500 people stayed here. If you check in early enough, it's a very special place. They give you free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay? Every room has great security, great self-service. I can vouch for it myself.
You do not know.
I spent 3 nights here.
No, you don't.
If you check
This
out
is on
to the
big
left,
tall
This is the Broward
trucks.
County Jail.
Have those like things. Right here.
Well, we import liquor now when we take our jail and put it on a $79 million piece of dirt.
No, thank you.
Actually, what happened is that was erected back in the 70s, and in the 70s, this was not a very desirable area. Because most warefronts in the country weren't. This was all factories and warehouses and run down. Then what happened in the 80s is a light bulb went on across the country, and everybody decided we should be developing our waterfronts. We did the same as everybody else. Just so happened by the time we did it, we had already put our jail down. Hey, you can come here on probation and have a vacation. Now we're going forward here. Up in front of us, that's the Andrews Bridge. That's a single-span bridge, meaning only one side goes up. A few years ago, they replaced the motor in that to make it the fastest bridge on the river. It is now the slowest bridge on the river. As we come forward on the left, you're going to see a blue and yellow restaurant and bar.
Wait, does
here.
it stop
It's
that?
called the Downtown Restaurant and Bar.
Look at that
And it is the
bridge.
oldest restaurant
Wait,
and bar here on the
that-
waterway. It was established in the 1920s,
What
and
do the
it
people
survived
write?
the Great Hurricane of 1926. When it first opened, the only way you could get here was by boat. In the back, if you look down the alleyway as you come up here, you're going to see a red sign on the side of the building. That was a speakeasy that was located in the back of the restaurant. And a lot of deals were cut there during Prohibition. A lot of famous guys, the gangsters, mobsters lived there on the river during Prohibition. Two that you'll know is Bugsy Siegel and Al Capone. We'll see Al's home in a little bit as we head up the river.
This gangsters, he just said. Gangsters.
Now up in front of us here, as we go through the bridge, we're going to say hello to Mr. Johnson, okay? On the count of three, the Johnson family is the family that runs all the bridges here on the waterway. And every night we say hello to them. If we don't, sometimes they'll make us sit a little longer on the way back. So on the count of three, let's say hello to Mr. Johnson. 1, 2, 3. Is he up there waving? He's usually waving to us on the right, or he'll blow a horn. All right, folks, as we move forward here, that's the Rivertail restaurant on the right. They have a nice, on the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, they do a nice brunch there if you're out and about. The next place here, the Wharf. If you're 30 or under, this is the hot spot right here, okay? When they first opened, they were doing 2,000 people here a night.
I'm under.
Now they
Kids,
put it
I'm
back to
under.
700 to 800 Wednesday through Sunday.
I'm only 11. That's fun
That's
for
the
me.
Wharf right there, big party spot for the underground.
A big
Now, coming
party
up in front
spot.
of us, this is our FEC Railroad Bridge. This is not an on-demand bridge. This bridge is controlled by a fellow sitting in a booth up in Jacksonville, Florida. We have no say over the train, so if it comes down, it comes down. Now it's home to our freight line, as well as our new Brightline high-speed passenger train. It can now be up in Orlando in about 2.5 hours. It does 125 miles an hour. As we go through the bridge here, notice
never
on your
seen that
left
before.
and your right.
Look, it's a
First
train.
on the left,
A train
I'll point out
bridge.
the Pirate Republic Brazilian-style seafood restaurant. Very good for Brazilian-style seafood. You can usually smell the garlic.
I never
It's
seen
hot.
a train.
Any
It's
fans
like,
here of Guy
for real.
Fieri's on Diners, Drive-Ins,
It's like
and Dives?
where
Yeah, he did a
Star
session
and
here
his
with
sister
Vanilla Ice.
died.
You can pull it up and you
It's kind of like it.
Right here in the left. Yep, wave, there they are, give a wave. Now on the right, folks, this is our historical park. And there's about 3 homes there that are historical that we can go through. In total, there's about 10. Those other homes were all picked up from other parts of South Florida and brought here to make an historical park where you can tour them. On the right, this is the house on the river. This is one of those original homes. And
Wait,
every
this is
other
the original
Sunday, right there where those
home?
chairs
How
are
much
on the
people are
patio,
inside?
they have a really nice jazz brunch there on Sunday. Notice that tree on our left, folks? That's a one-of-a-kind here in South Florida. That's an Amazon rain tree. And it was found by accident. A fellow bought that lot, and he was going to cut down the tree. And the environmentalists came to check it out. And that's when they discovered it was a one-of-a-kind here in South Florida. They told him he couldn't cut it down. He was a little upset. He asked, "What can I do?"
police
They said, "Nothing, really."
officer
He said, "Can I move it?"
Where?
He said, "If you want to try and move that tree, you can. Move it aside.
Imagine that
Imagine the roots on that." So he did. He moved it 75 feet from the center of the lot to the corner. It cost him $1.1 million for the tree. On the right here, folks, if you look through the trees, you'll see that yellow archway. That's our Museum of Discovery and Science, and that was donated to us by Auto Nation, a Wayne Heisinger company. It's a great place to take your kids on a day off. On the right here, this is the Broward County Theater District. It's our Broadway, and we get all the same shows that they get in New York at Broadway. They just wrapped up Moulin Rouge and Mrs. Doubtfire. They just put out the schedule for next year, and it's pretty darn good.
Huh?
I just got
It looks
tickets
like
for
he
the
talks
NBA
like
experience, Michael
like
Jackson experience. Should be
Yeah,
a
they
lot
do.
of fun.
Yeah, it looks like.
So as we come forward
Yeah, they
here,
do.
folks,
Monday,
up
Tuesday,
on the
Wednesday,
right,
Thursday,
there's a
Friday.
sailboat up here with a blue mast undercover. This family has been living on the boat now for about
I feel like
8
they can
months.
never stop talking.
Every day we
Live
come
on a
by,
boat.
they wait
Who?
for us and they wave to
A boat.
us. I've yet to be able to get their right names. I ask them, "What's your name?" I can never hear it right. But they wait for us every night and wave. Nice folks here, so we're going to wait for them tonight too. They'll be up there waiting for us, I'm sure. Then when we go through the bridge, I'm going to give the count of 3 again, and we're going to say hello to Mr. Johnson once again. They're all brothers. They're all cousins of Johnson family. They control all these bridges up and down the river. Well, first we're going to wait for our friends right here on the right. There they are.
Where?
How you guys doing tonight? Have a cocktail for us, will you? I don't get to have mine till 11. Great boats every night they're here. Are you guys staying dry?
Yup.
Good. Good. Now when we go through the bridge up here, folks, this area here is called Cooley's Landing. And Cooley's Landing, William Cooley, in the early 1800s, 1835, he came here before anybody else. We only got this from the Spanish in 1819. In 1835, William Cooley came here. This was still Indian, Seminole Indian territory. He came and he started harvesting a plant here called punky. It was like an arrowroot. They used it to make gums and candy. And he was exporting it out of the area and making a lot of money. Then in 1835, we had a little part of history here we don't talk about a lot. It was a little black spot. It was called the Great Seminole Uprising. It was an uprising with the white settlers and the Seminole Indians. And most of us didn't fare so well, as did not the Cooley family. All the white settlers abandoned the area, and it wasn't until about 1845 that people started coming back into the area.
It said that. Watch the whole race happen and then poof.
Now, Cooley's Landing here, as we go through, you're going to see these boats that are parked here. It's a little different than the marinas down where we left before. This marina here, you can't have a boat over 50 feet.
Okay, who's driving
This
this
is
boat?
where a lot of, the normal boaters would come, not the big yachts. The reason being, you can stay on your boat here, but it'll only cost you $8 to $12 per foot a night. The marina we left for, that will cost you $25 per foot per night. So if you got a 100-foot yacht, you're paying some money, okay? That's per night. These are up to 50 feet, only $8 to $12. And this is Cooley's Landing.
I like that house. I like that.
Now, the river
Which
here,
one?
This is through Cooley's Landing.
It's not
This is much wider than it was back in the day. This is actually not a river, but it's a saltwater estuary made up the canal systems that comes from the Everglades. And there's a lot of lore here about how the river got its name. One comes from the Seminoles themselves. They say that back in the day, they were in their beds in their chickee huts one night, and the skies opened up and the earth shook. In other words, they had an earthquake. And when they got up in the morning, the ceiling of the earth had caved in and revealed the river, the New River. That's lore. The other story that's much more plausible is that the mouth of this river was always shifting. One time it would be down here when we entered it, the next time it would be 2 miles down the road. So it always had a new entrance.
That's sick.
Bro, I'm coming up on the right here, folks.
Why is
This
that
big
door
house,
so
notice
fast
the blue
though?
caboose
Don't
on
y'all
the right
wish
of
y'all
it?
had the air horn too?
Yeah, this is the whole Miss Sophia.
Then you could learn to sing in school and prank.
So I'm guessing she's not
Like on a bus too.
It was once the home of Ron
Like on a
Wyman.
bus, I could just take it in the...
Look, there she is.
Hi, whoever...
Hey, I told you. You think I'm making these stories up, don't you?
She took the Taco Bell.
He was an author, and he wrote a lot about the paranormal. His favorite subject actually was the Bermuda Triangle. Anybody here believe in that? I don't either. I sent my mother-in-law there every time she came back. Anyway, the house there, Bob Lee, and his wife, they put the home up for sale. They had 11 different offers on the home. Miss Sophia there came to them one day and she said, look, I know you have 11 offers on this home, and I can't match them. But what I can do is promise that if you sell me your home, I'll never remove that caboose that's on the property, and I'll never change anything about your home,
I'm gonna give
and
you
I'll
for
always
$9
leave it
million.
pink. They signed the papers and signed the home over here that night. Kind of a cool story. Now, as we come here to the split in the river, to the right, we will go up on the North Fork.
For real?
And we're going to go to the left and go down the South Fork. Now, as we come around the corner here on the South Fork, I want you to notice this piece of property on the right. It's got a new home going up under construction. This piece of property is called Little Florida because naturally, it's natural shape. If you were to look at it from the air, it looks like the state of Florida, all on its own. Back in the 60s, you could address a letter to Little Florida, and that's all you had to put on it, and it ended up right here. Back then, there were only 2 or 3 homes here. Now there's one home, and the reason it's under construction, if you look at it, look how much fill they brought in here, how high it is. They brought in 4 to 5 feet of fill to add up to make the home higher. That's because during high tide, this property floods. And now it floods more than ever, to the point where it was filling up their swimming pool every time we got a high tide or a bad rainstorm. The reason being that most of these homes in here had a water problem. So everybody
Look at that
started
one.
raising their property.
Where? Oh.
The property next door, they raised their property by 4.5 feet.